So welcome to the weekly shred. It is Thursday night. I am your tour guide, Jim Schultz. You guys made it. And yeah, man, I don't know what else to tell you guys. We're doing it a little bit early tonight so that we can all enjoy the circus that is set to start in about 31 minutes. And so let's go ahead and tighten this thing up and get you guys out the door in a half hour or less. But I appreciate you guys, man. I appreciate you guys so much, whether you're watching live or you're watching on the replay. I'm so thankful for your time and your attention. If you're brand new to the channel, man, toss me a new down in the comments, down in the chat box, because I would absolutely love to meet you. And yeah, man, weekly shred. We do all things physique transformation, all things getting you to Shredsville, right? To kind of summons up my best politician point, get you to Shredsville. That's what we're trying to do. So here we are, man. It's Thursday night. We're going to do a little Q&A action tonight. So I got a couple of really great questions that came in beforehand that I was able to canvas from the various mediums that we all use every single day. And I think they're pretty good. The first question is going to be about how do I adjust my training as I get older? And I was like, wow, this is a great question. In fact, it's so great. I think we're going to devote an entire shred to this, maybe even next week. Like we might just go ahead and knock this guy out next week, but we'll talk about it a little bit here tonight. And then the second question was about alcohol and cutting, like alcohol and dieting, like how do those two things jive together? And I think that our answer, or at least my answer, might be a little surprising to you. So if you guys are watching live though, let me know in the chat box, right? If you guys have any questions that you guys would like to hear answered on the shred live, front and center, drop them right in the chat box and we'll make sure that they get addressed. So, training as you get older. So, the question that we got that came in is this guy right here. Say, hey, Jim, what if I'm older, man? Like, how should I adjust my training and nutrition, right? Like, I'm getting up there in age. You know, I'm a little bit older than I would like to be. You know, I'm not in my 20s anymore. I'm not in my 30s anymore. I'm not in my 40s anymore. Like, how should I do this? How should I adjust my training? Well, so I'm 39 and I'll be 40. I'll be 40 in May. And so I can relate to this now. Like, I feel like I've kind of earned my stripes a little bit. Right now, I'm not in my 50s. I'm not in my 60s. I'm not even in my 40s yet. Right? But I've been training now for 20 years. Like, I started when I was 19 years old. And so I think I've kind of earned the right to speak on this topic a little bit. When I was in my 20s, or even my early 30s, I felt like I can't communicate with these old timers, man. I can't communicate with these seasoned veterans that have just been in the trenches for so many years and just have nicks and dings and niggles and wiggles and jiggles and all these different types of iggles that it's like I don't feel qualified to talk about this, right? But now that I'm 39 and I have, sustained some injuries and rehabbed some injuries and overcome some injuries and found some ways to adjust my training a little bit, I'm like, yeah, I think I've kind of earned the right to kind of talk about this. So how should you adjust your training and your nutrition? Well, the best answer to this, I think, is it should adjust itself. And here's what I mean by that. If you're following a well thought out, well put together program, not unlike the one that I have the athletes doing in Full Throttle Fat Loss, right? Shameless plug for Full Throttle Fat Loss. This is exactly how that is set up. It should be customized for you. It should be customized for what makes sense for you and your physique and your metabolism and how your body processes things. Now, what do I mean by that? There are some base things that are going to be true for everyone, right? There are some universal things that we all want to adhere to that can serve as a great starting point, right? Oh, hey, what's up there, Wilson? Good to see you too, brother. GTSY, man. Learn that means good to see you. Good to see you too. I thought that meant gutsy. But either way, man, I will take it. Good to see you too, brother. If you have any questions, man, drop them in the chat box. Let me know. Training, nutrition, whatever you got, man. I'm always happy to share my thoughts and insights. Whatever you're doing, though, training, nutrition-wise, it should be customized to you. Now, there are some base things that always will work as a foundation. Like, a great example would be eating 1 gram per pound of your body weight in protein. We've talked about that a lot on the Shred. It's a basic, like, universal axiom in the world of, serious fitness enthusiasts, right? Now, should you eat a little bit more? Should you personally eat a little bit less? This is kind of where the customization comes into play, right? The answer to the questions are, yeah, maybe, right? Like, let's work it out. Like, let's figure out if maybe a little bit more might be right for you because you feel hungry, or you feel hungry, or there are other reasons, but that's the only one that's in my head right now. That would be a great reason to up your protein intake. Or actually, another good reason would be you're near the end of a cut. You're near the end of a shred season, and you're really close to your target, right? But you don't really want to add any carbohydrates or fats to your fuel tank, at least not right now. But it's not that you're feeling hungry, but it's more than hunger at that point. It's kind of just like this overall overarching fatigue, right? Well, one of the things that can really help you is upping your protein intake. Potentially, right? There are other strategies you could use too. But one of the things that I've done with a reasonable amount of success is upping my protein intake just a little bit, right? Adding, 15, 20, 25 grams of protein per day. That could be an extra protein shake that can really help you kind of push through those last few pounds. It can really make a big, big difference. But you might find that a gram per pound is too much. You might find that, man, I'm just stuffing myself. I'm stuffing my face, right? You may not get as hungry as somebody else. One thing that's really interesting. So this is kind of a little sidebar, which, let's be honest, we do ourselves a couple sidebars here and there on the Weekly Shred. Hunger is very, very individual. Hunger is very, very unique to each and every one of us. Some of us get really hungry. Others of us don't really get that hungry. Like, I honestly, my metabolic rate is not very fast. It's faster now than it was when I was 29, honestly. And so, that's really cool. Like, the fact that you can improve your metabolism, the fact that it's dynamic, the fact that you can, you don't have to just settle for the hand that you were dealt. Like, you can actually make progress from a metabolic capacity standpoint is really, really cool. But just generally speaking, I have a slower metabolism. I also don't really have a huge appetite. Like, I get hungry, don't get me wrong. I can eat some carbs, don't get me wrong. I can eat some fats, don't get me wrong. And you can bet your bottom biscuit I can take down some carbs. Don't get me wrong. But generally speaking, I would say I'm probably around, like, from a 1 to 10 on the hunger scale, where 1 is like you never get hungry and 10 is like you're always ravenous. I'm probably like a 5 or a 6. I'm probably somewhere in the middle, right? Where I've met some people. Ah, I think my mic might be back now. So yeah, so we should be back now. So there we go. Sorry about that. When you unplug things, they don't work as well as when as when they're plugged in. But anyway, if I still have anybody out there that hung around for the last 45 seconds, thank you. You guys are amazing. But anyway, the hunger is very unique from one person to the next. So that's one really good example of customizing things from one person to the next. Another really good example is your training capacity, right? So some people, thanks Wilson, got it, man. Yeah. So some people, they can handle 8 sets of squats per week, right? Let's just say, right? They can handle it. Like, they can handle it. Like, they recover. They're able to work through the soreness. They're able to continue to, improve their performance and so on and so forth. Some people can handle that. Other people, they can only do like maybe 3 or 4 sets, right? And then that's just too much. Like, they just feel totally wrecked. That's another thing that's very, very unique to each and every one of us. And as we get older, that's going to change. Like, for me personally, like, I know just when I was like 35, 36, I could handle more sets of squats per week than I can right now. Like, when I was 35, 36, I could probably handle like 9 to 10 really hard sets of squats every week, and week in and week out. Now that I'm 39, that number's probably more like 6 to 8. So it's a little bit less, right? And so what am I doing, right? I've gotten older and I'm adjusting. I've gotten older and I'm aware of how my own body is changing and how, my capacity to do certain things is changing. And so for those of you out there that maybe are a little bit older and you're like, hey, how should I train? How should I adjust my training, right? What you need to do is you need to measure all the things that you are doing, right? Like, one of the things you guys always hear me say is you can't manage what you don't measure, right? Like, you can't manage what you don't measure. So you need to be measuring your training sessions. You need to be measuring your volume. You need to be measuring your RPE. You need to be measuring your macros. You need to be measuring all this stuff, right? Because guess what happens when you do that? You have data. And when you have data, guess what comes next? Feedback. And when you have feedback, guess what comes next? Analysis. Or I guess the feedback and analysis might come at the same time. But guess what comes after that? The ability to make adjustments, right? The ability to respond to what you've learned about yourself. And so the answer to the question is a great question. And I think we are going to come back to this actually, maybe as early as next week. If you're a little bit older and you're realizing, hey, how should I change my training and my nutrition? The answer is you need to monitor what you yourself are doing and then make adjustments from there. And I can't give you definitive, like, you should do X, you should do Y, you should do Z, which I know that's what we all want. I mean, that's what I always want when I'm tuning into something like this. I'm like, no, man, just tell me what to do, bro. But I can't do that, right? That would be so disingenuous of me to do that because I don't know anything about your situation. right? And so so my answer would be to monitor your own data and then make the adjustments accordingly. And oh, one more thing. As we get a little older, there are certain, as we get older, just in life, here's some wisdom for you guys. I'm 39, so I got it figured out. As we get older, things get taken from us. As we get older, right, things that we used to have, we no longer have. When it comes to training, it's the exact same thing, right? There's going to come a point in time where you probably shouldn't squat anymore. There's going to come a point in time where you probably shouldn't do bent over barbell rows anymore, right? Because of your back, or because of your elbows, or because of your this, or because of your that. That's just going to happen, right? So if there's a movement that, like squats or deadlifts or whatever, if there's a movement that's causing you pain, and I'm not talking about like pain, like, you know, like soreness, muscular pain, like lack of use pain, like all that stuff, we got to pony up, we got to work through it. I'm talking about injury pain, right? I'm talking about pain where you're like, man, something about this is just not right, right? As we gain experience, right, as we gain, you know, time in the gym and just put our reps in, we learn to know the difference about ourselves. We learn to understand what's injury pain and what's kind of, you know, lack of use pain, right? Kind of laziness pain, let's call it, right? And if it's the latter, then you got to work through that. But if it's the former, then don't do that movement. Don't do that exercise. There is no, not even squats. I talk about squats all the time. Squats are amazing, right? For leg, overall body development, squats are incredible. But there's no one exercise that must be in your routine. That doesn't exist. Because remember, what are we? We're physique athletes, right? What are we, right? We're trying to get to Shredsville, man. We're trying to look better. We're trying to feel better. We're trying to be healthier. That's all we care about. The actual, you know, movements in the gym, the time in the gym, the mechanisms that we choose, man, they're just means to an end. That's all they are. And so there is no one exercise that must be done over any other exercise. There are some that are better, of course. Like I think we can all agree that, you know, barbell floor presses for triceps are better than cable kickbacks, right? They're just going to hit a broader swath of your triceps. They're going to most likely elicit more growth. But if they really put your elbows in a pinch, then they're not better for you, right? Cable kickbacks still may not be better, but barbell floor presses are definitely not better, right? You got to find something else to do. So that's the answer to the first question. And for those of you that are watching live, man, you guys have questions. We got the audio back on. We're up and running. Man, just let me know. Let me know down in the chat box. I would love to hear from you guys. And if you guys are watching live and you want to hit me with a like, that would be awesome because that always helps the old YouTube algorithm. So, all right, so the second question that I had that came in beforehand was, all right, Jim, what about alcohol while cutting? Is that a good idea or is that a bad idea? You know, this is a really good question because I hear it all the time. And I think most people just assume that it's a no-go. I think most people just assume it's a red light, you know, do not pass go. You should not be drinking alcohol while you're cutting. And, you know, honestly, the answer, it's kind of yes and no. The answer is kind of red light, green light. And here's what I mean by that. Should you avoid alcohol while cutting? The first answer to that question is yes. And the reason why is probably not what you maybe thought before. You know, I think a lot of people kind of put alcohol on this taboo list. They put alcohol on this, like, you know, do not touch list. And it's forbidden fruit. It's forbidden fruit while you're cutting. And it's like, oh man, like if you're caught with a beer, right? And like people are going to look at you and be like, are you really serious about, you're obviously not taking your diet, your shred season very seriously. If you're sitting over there with a Corona Light, right? Which, I mean, you shouldn't be sitting anywhere with a Corona Light anyway. But I mean, you're sitting over there with, you know, Milwaukee's Best, much better than Corona Light. It's like, you know, come on, man. Are you really taking this seriously? So I think it's just kind of taboo to begin with. But the better reason why it's not a great option for you is very simple. It's not that satiating. Like, it's really not that satiating, right? Now, like when you're like, you know, eating normally and your fat cells are nice and plump and you're not usually hungry, like you have a couple of beers and it kind of fills you up quite a bit. But you got to keep in mind, you're not in a caloric deficit. You got to keep in mind, right? You're not running on, a 75% full tank day in and day out. But you do that for 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, then all of a sudden a beer doesn't sound like it's going to be super satiating. And the reason why it doesn't sound like it's going to be super satiating is because it's not going to be super satiating, right? And so the better reason to avoid alcohol while you're in a cutting season is it's not that satiating, right? Like those calories that you're going to allocate towards, a Corona Light, a Milwaukee's Best, hey, a Crooked Marker if you want something that's actually delicious, right? Some Allagash if you want to step up your wheat beer game a little bit. You would be much better served doing some protein, carbs, or fats instead of that beer or that drink or that choice of liquor. It's just going to be more satiating. You're going to feel more fueled up. You're going to feel better. You're likely going to perform better. So that's my first answer. That's kind of the yes side of the equation. But the no side of the equation is also very relevant here. Like, should you avoid alcohol while cutting? The answer is no, not necessarily, right? I mean, I'm not really in a cutting season right now, but I've got a couple of Crooked Markers waiting on me for this election. Like, we're cracking them open in about 11 and a half minutes, right? And it's all systems go. And we just need to remember that it really all boils down to your macro targets. It really all boils down to your caloric deficit. I think I have now said that for 39 straight consecutive weekly shreds. And that's good because it is that important, right? As long as you are in a caloric deficit, you are going to move closer to your goal. Now, are there more things to consider? Of course, because you've got to eat enough protein. You've got to be aware of the carbohydrates and the fats and how much you can process and all that stuff. But just at a surface level, it all boils down to the equation of calories in, calories out. This just cannot be argued, right? And so it's like, all right, if I've got some extra calories, right? I've got some extra calories in the form of carbohydrates and fats, so our good buddy, the farb. If I'm willing to forego some of those farbs and have a Crooked Marker and have some Allagash, right? And have some, Sam Adams seasonal, then by all means, have that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And hey, man, I got 3 kids. 6, 3.5, and 7 months old. Sometimes you just need a drink. Sometimes, nightly, you just need a drink. And that's just the way it is, man. Like, that's just life. And it's like, you know what? That's perfectly fine. Here is the problem with that, though. The problem with that is we are so easy, or we become very susceptible. That's what I was looking for. To overeating when we drink, right? Because, obviously, our inhibitions are down a little bit or up, whichever way it goes. Our defenses are down. That one I do know. And so now all of a sudden it's like, hey, wait a second, man. Those Tostitos in the cupboard, they're looking pretty good, right? Those Tostitos in the cupboard, they're looking pretty solid. Those Pringles in the cupboard, they're looking even better. And so then all of a sudden it's like, all right, man, like, a Crooked Marker, 2 Crooked Markers just turned into 2 Crooked Markers, a bowl of Tostitos, some guacamole, of course, and, half a sleeve of Oreos. And the next thing you know, what was a couple of drinks, 250 calories, just turned into 1,250 calories. And that is something that can make a big, big difference. And so, the alcohol thing is, it's interesting. The alcohol thing is really, really interesting. And so, yeah, Jimmy James says, I just need a drink. I don't know, James. You never told me, man. I don't know if you have children or not, man, but let me know. Children or grandchildren or whatever. But if the answer is yes, then you know exactly what I'm saying. Even if the answer is no, you might know exactly what I'm saying, because that's just the way the world is, man. These 3 kids, they're crazy, man. They're totally crazy. But those are the 2 questions that I had for you guys tonight. So, I mean, we're still here live. We still got a few extra minutes. We still got a few people popping in live. I know that tonight, it's not the greatest, not the greatest night, because everybody's fired up about this circus that's about to take hold, which is cool. But what do you guys got for me, man? We got a couple minutes. Let me know. And so there we go. John, what's up, man? Good to see you, man. I'm preaching to the choir. Oreos rock, dude. Oreos. I mean, I'll tell you what was the game changer in the cookie world. in the cookie market, here was the game changer. And I don't know when this happened, but it was a fairly recent thing. Fairly recent, like within the last 10 or 15 years, I think. When Oreo, when the board of directors at Oreo, Nabisco, when they sat around and they were looking at each other, they said, you know, Bob, I just figured it out. We don't have to only put white cream in the middle of our Oreos. Like, we can mix it up a little bit. We can throw a little mint in there. Hey, it's October. We can do a little pumpkin in there. Like, once they figure that out, they separated themselves from the pack. Once they figured that out, they differentiated themselves from all other cookies, right? I mean, it used to be, you know, you had your Oreos, you had your soft batch, Chips Ahoy, and then you had everybody else. But now, you got your Oreos, you got your soft batch, you got everybody else, right? It really was a total game changer. And so I totally agree, man. Totally agree with you, John. So what can I help you guys with, man? Training, nutrition. If you guys are watching live, if you want to hit it with a like, that'd be amazing. If you want to subscribe to the channel and you guys are brand new, that would also be amazing. Just while I'm killing some time here and just throw out some shameless advertising. But yeah, you know, I think that these are two good questions, two really good questions. Training as you get older. I think we're going to talk about that a little bit more next week. I think that's worthy of a longer discussion, of a full weekly shred, so I can give you guys maybe some more practical guidance around that, because it's something I myself am dealing with. And yeah, so while you guys are thinking of what in these last couple of minutes, let me give you guys a little preview of what's kind of to come. I'm so excited, and let me know if you guys have any last second questions here. I'd love to know. Guys, you don't understand. So the other day, so since we moved to Florida, so one of my biggest dreams, and this has only been a pretty recent thing, but one of my biggest dreams has been to have some gym equipment for the garage, right? And so, I mean, we rented while we were in Chicago, so we didn't have a garage, whatever. But we moved down here, we bought the home, we bought a home with a garage. I was like, listen, Autumn, I really want to get some really awesome gym equipment in the garage. And honestly, the reason why I wanted to do that, what really motivated me to do that, was the whole COVID thing. I was like, hey, just in case the government decides to take away my personal freedoms again, I would like to be able to squat. Like, I would like to be able to do more than just band work, because it's just so important to me. Well, anyway, I've been on the lookout for gym equipment, whatever, and everybody's on the lookout for gym equipment right now, right? So it's like impossible to find. Well, the other day, I found my man. My man had a gym here in St. Petersburg, and he's moving out to Utah. And his gym was unbelievable. It was very similar to Quads in Chicago, which Quads in Chicago, greatest gym I've ever trained at, bar none. But this guy, like, I walked in, like, we connected on Facebook, and he was like, yeah, come by, check out what I got, man. Like, I got everything you need. And I'm like, yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah, well, I walked in, my man had everything I needed. Everything. Right? And he was selling it for ridiculously low prices because he just wanted to get rid of it. He didn't want to have to ship it all out to Utah. Right? So, long story short, long story medium, I ended up with a squat rack, like a super, super high quality, good squat rack. It's comparable to a Rogue R4, but it's kind of like, he described it as one level up from a Rogue R4. And I mean, and I looked at it, I was like, yeah, that's probably true. Anyway, I got this rack, I got a Texas power bar, I got a safety squat bar, I got 10 45-pound plates, and then I got a pair of 25s, 10s, 5s, 2.5s, 1 1/4s. I got chains for some chain work. I got a bench. I got rubber mats for deadlifts. I got like the storage pins. I got band pegs. I got everything for $1,900. $1,900. This stuff was easily worth $4,000. And I told him that, like, while we were there, like while we were in his gym, and I was just like a kid in a candy store. I'm like, how much for that? He's like, $8. I'm like, I'll take 3 of them. He's like, how much for that? It was crazy. And I told him, we were laughing about it because he's a competitive power lifter, and so he knows. And I just said, dude, the prices you're charging, like, you realize that you could charge a lot more than this. He's like, I know, man, but I'm just trying to get rid of it because I don't want to ship it to Utah. And so I'm like, dude, well, I'll take everything you got, dude. And so anyway, the reason why I brought all that up is not only to share my excitement with you guys, but I'm going to be doing some content. Once I get the squat rack put back together and bolted into the ground and I get it all set up in there, we're going to be doing some content in there. I'm going to bring the camera out there. We're going to do some live stuff out there of actual training sessions. And so that's always been kind of my dream moving forward. And so, you know, it's fun to be able to sit here and talk about fitness, right? And talk about training and all that stuff. and talk about nutrition. But some of the time, man, let's get in there and let's do it, man. Let's get in there. Let's train together, right? Like, and I'm not talking about just tutorial videos. Like sometimes I want to bring you guys in for actual training sessions. Like I want you guys to see like what a squat session looks like for me. So you guys can see how I warm up. You guys can see, and I'll talk through my sets, kind of what I'm looking for, what I'm doing, this kind of stuff, how I kind of auto-regulate along the way. And we're just going to have a lot of fun with it, man. I'm super pumped about it. So anyway, but, let's see. So John says, thanks, young man. If you have questions for a true old man that hits the gym hard, let me know. If I have questions for you, so it's like a reverse Q&A. So it's kind of like reverse band work where the bands actually help you. We're going to do a little reverse Q&A. John, I will let you know, man. I will absolutely let you know. We've gotten to know each other a little bit over the last couple of years, and I will absolutely do that. And so I was trying to help people with training as they get older, but maybe you can help me. That would be really, really cool. And oh yeah, thanks, man. I'm really pumped about the gym equipment. So and then Jimmy James threw me a thumbs up. Yeah, man. I'm super pumped. Super pumped about everything. God is too good, man. He is too good. But I don't know, man. Do you guys have anything? Because the debates are about to start. My crooked markers are getting they're getting warm. So I don't wanna jank with that, man. So but you guys are amazing, man. You guys popped in early, right? It wasn't even at the regularly scheduled time, and we had, you know, a pretty good attendance rate for the live viewership. And I'm really humbled, man, that you guys took some time. You guys made it through the audio snafu and all that stuff. So if I can ever help with anything, man, you guys let me know. You guys let me know. I'm here for you guys. If you guys want to go down to the description and check out the fat loss formula, which is free, scoop that up. You got the cardio plan, which is free, scoop that up. Head on over to livefcube.com. You can check out some more content. Full Throttle Fat Loss is also over there, which of course is not free, but hey, if you're really serious about getting to Shredsville, man, I would love to be a part of that journey with you. So give it a look and let me know how I can help. But that's it. It looks like we're just about at time. I've got just enough time to get in there, scope out my flavor of crooked marker, and just sit back and relax, man. And so you guys are amazing. I appreciate you guys. We will of course be back next week for another weekly shred. John says over and out. Over and out to you, brother. Another weekly shred. I think we're gonna do that. I think we're gonna talk about changing your game as you get older, changing your game as you get up there and gain some experience, and maybe you don't have the speed and the power of your youth, but you have wisdom and you have experience. And so I don't know, that kind of sounds like it might be better. Lost my audio again. No, I should be good, man. My audio's coming through. Should be coming through at least. And so I think maybe you lost your headphones there, Jimmy James. Possible. But anyway, hopefully it's coming through. But even if it's not, we made it to the end. So you guys are amazing. We will see you guys next week. Have a great night. Enjoy the debates tonight. If for no other reason, just use them as comic relief. And I